Hi, my name is Amy Watt, and today I'm going to be talking to you about dyslexia. This is for my SPED 571 presentation. I uploaded my poster that I created that discusses what dyslexia is and some ideas that teachers can use within their classroom to better support their students who might be struggling learning how to read or do math. So that's kind of what I'm going to be talking to you about. So please enjoy the presentation. All right, so a little bit about myself. I am a current special education teacher. I work with kids in elementary and then also in our high school. My population is pretty small as I live in a rural town. So I really get to work one-on-one with our kids and do the actual instruction of different programs. So I have the luxury of starting with them at a very young age and then kind of seeing also how programs do impact their growth, and then also seeing what happens when we don't catch our kiddos and give them the supports that they do need when they do hit that high school age. So it's kind of, I get both spectrums, but it's really neat being able to serve them in that one-on-one area as well. All right, so dyslexia is a neurological disorder with our brain. It's basically the wires are just done differently. It's usually a genetic disorder that's passed on from family to family, which in my experience is very hard for families, moms and dads, to hear that. So that's something to be very sensitive to as you are discussing what dyslexia looks like and what might be some of the reasons why a child is struggling. But essentially, it's just a phonological disorder. So they see words the same way that you and I might see words. So if the word is like cat, we often sometimes think, oh, they're not seeing the same word that we are. They might be seeing, I don't know, TAC. And that's not true. However, when they do see the word cat, their brain is basically having to work overtime. So we have two hemispheres inside our noggin. We have our left and our right, and the left side is in charge of our reading development. It's that language, whereas our right is that more creative. It's more creatively driven. So as a child is seeing that word cat, a word is having to go, typically being seen with that right side, and having to travel through, kind of getting stuck in that frontal lobe area and just getting mixed up. And that's when often the word is then pronounced incorrectly. So it's not that they're seeing anything differently than you and I are seeing. It's just how it's moving in their brain. And that's typically why our kiddos are more creative, they're more artistic, they just see things outside of the box. I have one little dude right now who's in second grade, and he loves to build. So if I can give him an opportunity to build a word with a Lego, those little small Legos, that is what he is busy doing. He's trying to figure out how he can just make words with his hands. So that's a strategy that I found with this little guy. But if I just hold up the word cat, and even though it's a single syllable word, he can't tell me what word that is. And so I've had more luck if it's more hands-on, and it's more hands-on with him. So that's a little bit about what the disorder is. So it's not, often you see BD reversals, you see words that are written backwards, you see things that are upside down. People have a real idea of what dyslexia is, but it's also making sure people know what it isn't. It's not a reflection of a person's IQ. Because a person might see words differently doesn't mean that they're not ever going to get it, or they're going to struggle for the rest of their lives. And this is definitely not true. We have so many people in our world that have gone on and done brilliant things. I'm sitting here recording on my Apple computer. Thank you, Steve Jobs. They do, I feel like from everything that I know about people with dyslexia is they often do better in our real world because they think creatively, and they are just able to give a better perspective sometimes than just that linear black and white. And they do better in that gray zone. So just being really open-minded. As a teacher, a special education teacher especially, I think our classroom general education teachers don't get enough training on what to do with kids who have different learning needs. Okay, we know that they're struggling. That's great. Then what? And I think that's kind of where that breakdown is. So a lot of times my job as a special education teacher is giving accommodations to teachers that they can easily implement in their classroom. One of those is being okay with them to verbally process answers to a teacher. I think that's absolutely critical. I think as soon as we ask a kid to start writing down their thoughts and their answers, it scares them. There's like this glitch because they know it, but then to take it from here to here and make a cohesive sentence is just really hard, especially when they might have some backwards letters or just reversals or just those glitches, because it's getting lost in that translation. So having them articulate things verbally is a great way for our students to share their knowledge. A lot of times they like to record themselves or video themselves because they can easily pause, regroup, and then go back, taking notes. But also a teacher needs to make sure what their notes actually have on the piece of paper. So when they're going home, it's not like, yeah, I have notes. And then a parent might be like, this doesn't make any sense. That teacher really needs to make sure that things are being copied correctly from the board to the paper. A lot of times, teachers just need to be printing that off for the student because, again, it's frustrating for a child to have to do that visual from the board to the paper, and they're not going to do it. And I think that's an easy accommodation for teachers to make is printing that stuff off for our students. This is 21st century. We got this. That's an easy accommodation that we should be doing all the time for all of our students. So dyslexia is more common than I think. I think teachers are pretty aware that it's out there. I don't know that it's always identified. It's typically in about 1 out of 5 people. And I feel really bad. We have a whole group of kids in our high school right now who are really struggling. And I'm not sure if they, I wasn't with them when they were in elementary, but I wonder what that did look like for them. I think there wasn't as much information known. I think people saw maybe this pot of kiddos with behaviors, and they thought maybe their behavior was just they were being naughty and acting out. So there wasn't as much knowledge about what dyslexia might have looked like, and I think they might have been missed. A lot of them aren't able to write complete sentences. To have this group write, a 4-page paper that's a really time-consuming task, and it's overwhelming for them. So it's been interesting to make sure that we are offering those supports at a younger age, so that when they do get to high school, they have the tools to be successful in the post-secondary post-secondary world. What does life look like after school? A lot of times that I'm using different technology like text to or speech to text, text to speech, kind of whatever the kid needs. But when they are doing that talk to speech, it does tend to get miscommunicated, so that can be kind of tricky for some of my kids, especially when those papers are longer in length. So those are a few ideas. Just giving them more time and breaking things down in smaller directions. I think sometimes teachers stand up in front of a classroom and just start firing directions at a group, and often, a kiddo who might be really processing that language. Here's the very first direction that was given, and they're kind of sitting there thinking, okay, what does that look like? But then he or she, the teacher might be already on direction number 5, and that might look like the kid's not listening or not paying attention, and that's not necessarily true. It's, again, giving that student the time to really be allowed to think through each step, which again goes down to making sure things are posted and clearly marked, and there's a clear set of expectations and directions, so there isn't room for failure. So I, again, believe in intensive, narrow curriculum. That was really great to learn about in this class that we're taking. I've had a lot of success with my students who do struggle with reading, and it is a program. I use SRA, and I have had a lot of success with that program, so I just can't say enough great things about it. It's direct. It doesn't leave room for failure. It's teacher-led. It's boring to teach. It's very repetitive. It works. And I think it works because it's the same skills every day, with me sitting there making sure they don't have that time for error. So I'm constantly there giving them that support with the instruction. And I just, like I said, I've had a lot of success with that. I had kiddos where I thought, I'm not sure I'm going to get them to read, at a second grade level. I'm not sure. And right now, like, I feel pretty confident saying next year, I have a couple kids that are going to be at a 3rd grade reading level, and I didn't feel that way when I first started with them. I was like, oh dear, we got to some work ahead of us. But I think with the parents' support, the teachers' support, and just lots of repetition from me and support to make sure that this is a solid wrap around the student, I think we're going to do really well. So there is success. It's just basically training their left side to be more efficient in how they are seeing things. A lot of my kiddos do really well with a lot of visuals, so I've also been doing visual phonics, and that's just because I can quickly, if they're looking at like the letter E, and they just cannot remember what sound like the long E makes, I can easily make a quick sign with my body, and they're like, yes, got it, because they do know it. That's where we can't discount them. They do know the material. It's just us making sure we're helping them. So that is a little bit about dyslexia in a nutshell. I'm over my time limit. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my spiel. All right. Thank you. Bye.